Behind every bit of mom wisdom is a story of a real mom and real kids just trying to love each other well. Whether you're cozied up on the couch with a mug of coffee, pulling out of car line and heading to work, or out for a walk, you're welcome to join us as we share stories and laugh, learn, and grow together. It's the iMom Podcast. Welcome to this week's episode of the iMom Podcast, and happy Halloween. Today is Halloween So Scary is on the mind. I'm Abby. I'm with Chloe and Susan and Megan, and today's episode is called How Scary is Too Scary. So I don't know what's going on that my kids came home from school like 2 days in a row begging to watch Stranger Things. And the last season had been out for a few weeks already, at least like 3 months, I'd say. And I don't know, somebody was talking on the playground or whatever. So my little one, actually, who's 9, he said, my friends are allowed to watch it. I've heard it's not scary. And I was like, son, it absolutely is scary.
Because you and Davis watch it.
We've seen it, yes.
Okay.
And I have watched episodes like through my fingers, like holding my hands up to my face. There was one scene that I couldn't look at the TV. I looked out like our French doors to look at the reflection of the TV. Like I needed some kind of barrier between myself and the TV. I don't like scary stuff. So, yeah.
But you're watching this show.
Me, person with my husband, yes. Yeah. What are you saying?
Oh, I thought you said you don't like scary stuff.
Oh, yeah, I know. I gave in. I know.
Why are you punishing yourself?
Well, because I like the storyline, but I don't like the scary part. So I just put my hands up in front of my face.
Your discretion.
Yeah. But that actually raises a good point about, a lot of people will argue, like, if it's not safe for your child, then it's really not safe for you. But that's another story. So anyway, my little one is asking to watch the show. He also had said, oh, well, friends at school watch Squid Game. And I'm like, no, your friends at school do not watch Squid Game.
Y'all, no. No one should be watching that show. No one. I watched like one episode. I was like, no one on this planet should be seeing this.
I know. And the fact that, I don't think that his friends were allowed to watch it. I think they
Are
heard
they watching
about
like
it.
Game of Thrones and all that? Because there's so much sexual and violent content.
No, I couldn't. That one I couldn't do.
Me either.
So
Me
anyway,
either.
but so then we're flipping through, the fun little Scholastic book flyer that you get and you let the kids circle the books. There's a Stranger Things graphic novel in it. And I was like, come on, Scholastic, like help me out here. Yeah. For like 5th grade. Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm guessing it was like a tamed version of it, probably maybe a little less scary, but still. But I told him, I said, no, son, we are not watching that show. Then the next day I was talking with my sister, and her kids are like right in line with mine. So my boys are 11 and 9. Hers are 11 and 10. So at one time in the year, they'll be 12, 11, 10, and 9 years old. So we're like right there. And she told me, she's like, so we let the kids start watching Stranger Things. And I was like, oh, this is interesting and timely. And the impression I got from what the story that she told was that the kids came home from school and were like, all of our friends are watching it. We want to watch this. And they said no. And the kids pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And they finally were like, fine, you can watch it, but don't say we didn't warn you. And she said that after they watched the first episode, she had to sit at my nephew's bedside and like stroke his back so that he could go to bed that night because he was so scared. And then she said the next day, he's like, I kind of want to keep watching it, but I think I should watch it during the day so that I can go to sleep. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if my sister could like read my face, but I was thinking, why are you even letting him? Like, I don't know if she'll listen to this episode. Sarah, I love you. You're a great mom, but you're crazy. You're crazy. It's just too scary. So today, and there's probably somebody who's listening that also lets their child watch it. And I'm sure you're a great mom in a lot of ways. That's
your
just
boss
something.
Being one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to talk today about that spectrum that parents kind of fall into when it comes to like what scary or evil things we allow our kids to see, because it really is all over the place. Great moms who just have a different gauge for what they allow their kids to see. And so since it is Halloween today, the day the episode is releasing, why don't we start there? What was everybody's take and experience with Halloween growing up? Or a fall festival day, whatever you call it.
What about you, Susan? What was it like for you? Oh, gosh, we did Halloween, but, back then there was nothing scary out there. So,
do you remember any of the costumes you wore?
was a gypsy. No, I don't really remember. You didn't go buy costumes.
Yeah.
You like put it together.
Right.
Or if you'd been in a ballet recital, you wore that. Yeah. So it wasn't just a big deal. You threw a sheet over your, nothing was a big deal. It was just fun. It was
Did
more
you trick
about
or treat?
Yeah, with a pillowcase. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
The more I could get, the better.
I was telling Chloe that earlier, that we were allowed to dress up like anything we could make.
Yeah.
We didn't buy costumes when I was a kid. There wasn't any purchased costumes. Maybe like the big orange thing like that becomes a pumpkin when you stuff it with balloons or whatever. There
It was
that.
very uncommercial back then.
Yeah, or just a mask that you strap around your head with like the rubber strap. But otherwise, there were no like real costumes that we wore. But it was all about the candy.
It was all about what kind of candy. That was the only thing is don't take apples with razors in them. You know, like, stuff like that.
Yeah, some people gave out pennies.
Yeah.
It's just
Totally. Yes.
Gosh, I never went trick or treating. All we had was the fall festival, and I couldn't be anything except, pop star. I think I was a secret agent one year, and because Halloween's of the devil.
You know what's so funny though is that like a pop star might be a worse influence on a little girl today than like
I know. I was several Bible characters. I was Esther. I think I was Mary once.
So what do you wear if you're Esther?
Oh, come on, you're a queen. You get to wear good stuff.
Yeah, you wear a crown.
My Mary costume was a little less couture.
Were you pregnant?
Sheet over your head. Oh, no. Megan, you couldn't be scary stuff. I didn't let you be scary stuff.
No, I don't like scary stuff though. So it's never
it was
like
easy.
I wanted to be
I wanted
anything
to be
scary.
something
I just wanted to be like a Disney princess or I don't know. Actually, my friends and I did really funny things. So I had these three
things.
There's four of us total, 4 girls, and we were just like best friends all growing up. And so we always wanted to dress up together every Halloween. So one year we were 3 of us were bowling pins and one was a bowling ball.
That's great.
Yeah. And they made them.
One year we were the 3 blind mice. And for some reason, our 4th friend, like, I don't know if we were being mean that year, but our like 4th friend didn't get the memo. And so she was just something else. And there was like a picture of the 4 of us. And there's 3.
Well, there's only 3 blind mice. There's not a 4th
why
one.
did we decide we wanted to be 3 blind mice? That's
great.
But you were adorable.
I'm surprised you weren't the genie in the bottle.
I was not allowed.
Call back to episode whatever
that was.
So we were like funny stuff, which now looking back, I'm like, oh, we were such dorks, but it was fun.
No, that's exactly what I did. Like I said, I had to like make all my costumes or find stuff. Like I think I know I wore a bridesmaid's dress my mom wore in like 1983. I don't know how it fit me, but I was allowed to use that as like a princess costume kind of thing. But I like to do kind of quirky stuff. I don't know if that was just my humor, but one year and this was probably 7th or 8th grade, I dressed up like a box of markers.
Wait, how did you do that?
I know. It was like so I did get to buy a big piece of poster board. And I remember it being so long and cumbersome that I couldn't hardly walk either. So I did like a sandwich board. So there was the board in the front, the board in the back, and it said Crayola. And then it had like the start of the markers like across my chest. So like the different colors. And then I had one wrapped around my head that was like a red, like the cap of the red marker.
We need a picture.
There was definitely not a picture.
We need a picture.
I promise you, there's no picture. But I couldn't like keep up with my friends because I had this like big poster board on me. So that was And now my kids don't do scary stuff, but they've never asked to because we don't really watch scary things. And so, although I do think maybe this year Graham might ask to do, he would like to do a zombie thing probably, but they care more about like doing fun stuff like as a duo. They were the Wet Bandits from Home Alone one year. And it was awesome. So that's kind of what they do. But it's cute.
I feel like clever stuff is really in right now. Like I saw someone one time and they literally just wore a white shirt and they put a P on it, the letter P, and then they painted their eye black. They're a black-eyed pea. Like I feel like people do
That's a
really
lazy
clever
costume.
stuff,
Yeah.
clever, easy, funny stuff now too, which is always fun.
So do you think though, like especially little boys, they reach an age where it's not cool to do anything other than something scary? I think I see that. Like when I see kids walking around, it's like now they've gone from being cowboys to being vampires or zombies or slashers or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a good point.
So were you guys allowed, and what were your rules about watching scary stuff? I mean, Megan, you said you didn't have cable, so I don't know what scary stuff was available.
I think, A, I didn't like scary stuff. B, one time I accidentally did watch a scary movie that we talked about on another podcast at a sleepover and really learned my lesson, because what I was saying, Abby, I don't know if you're going to get to this, but you were talking about this earlier. Like, would you rather let your kids watch something scary or like take a shot of vodka or something? I would rather let them take a shot because mentally, like, I can still remember that movie to this day. I feel like it's something I just will never be able to get out of my head. Yeah. It's really scary. And I just don't want my kids to be stuck with that forever and, not be able to get it out of their head and just constantly think about it and be scared.
I really think it depends too on kids. Obviously Megan's my child, so I didn't let them watch anything scary because I had a similar situation happen. I think some people are more visually traumatized, but I always think of the brain, especially a child's brain, as always developing these synapses, these like tunnels in. And for most kids, those tunnels, if a new one, they see something new, it either triggers an attraction or a fear. And so peer pressure can push them to overcome the fear, but it's not good because, like Megan's case, my case when I was young, it keeps coming to your mind and it can create other things. So I just feel, especially with children, you want to protect their innocence. You want them to enjoy. And, the Bible even says, dwell in whatever is good and right and noble. And so I kind of protected my kids from that. I didn't want them to see scary things. Most scary things are paranormal. They're against creation. So if God wanted us to really be scared all the time, wouldn't, I feel like realities are scary, like war, things like that. Yeah. And to undermine them by making them 3D for our entertainment is odd.
Yeah. See, I think that a lot of the stuff, the movies that I found scary as a kid, the ones that have like left an impression on me were not, quote, scary movies. They were just movies that, were made in 1978 and were weird that and like had that weird vibe that just like something about it, like Return to Oz. Anybody see that one? That was like the sequel to Wizard of Oz, but it came out, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s. And there was just something like, I've never seen Labyrinth, but I know that like that style of like that, it's like a dark
mystic.
Yeah, that weird like late 70s vibe that just was, I don't know. It's really creepy to me.
But don't you think dark's kind of in like Yellowstone? A lot of things are dark now.
Yeah.
People like it.
People are attracted to, and I think kids are attracted to mysterious, maybe not evil, but something that's mysterious or forbidden or, and so they keep pushing and asking, and kind of like what Megan said a moment ago. It's like, we have these very firm boundaries with our kids in some areas. Like if my 9-year-old came up to me and said, Mom, let me chug a beer. I'd be like, no, that's crazy. I would never let you do that. But Mom, let me watch Stranger Things or Squid Games. Some parents are like, oh, okay,
And you can't hide things from your kids forever. And sometimes it's really about the child. Like one of my sons was very visually stimulated. And I remember I took him to see Zorro, the movie Zorro. And he was bouncing off his bunk bed till 3 a.m. with a sword. Like he could not come back. And I just learned he can't handle super just stimulating things. He needs to wait a few years till something in his brain comes together and he can handle it, because it's not a bad movie. It's just was too stimulating for him.
So, Chloe, you were, based on your Halloween story, I'm guessing you were not allowed to watch scary stuff as a kid?
No, nothing scary, nothing Harry Potter, wizard, witches, nothing like that.
Do you remember like the scariest thing you think you were allowed to see?
Well, what you said, about what everyone has shared about like what's kind of like convicted their heart. I remember emotionally tense movies really doing a number on me, and I'm still that way today. Like if we watch a movie with a really emotionally intense,
you feel things intensely.
I feel things intensely. So I mean, I watched The Boy in the Striped Pajamas in the 8th grade.
Oh, my son just read that last year.
A Holocaust movie, and I ran out of my classroom and vomited.
Oh no!
I had never. I'd never seen something like that so graphic, and still to this day, I mean, Trent, my husband, and I were watching a movie the other day that was like a really intense, emotional scene, and then there was a funny scene, and he's like laughing. I'm like, I'm not over what just happened in the last scene. Like, so I think, I think, Susan, you just said this, it really just depends on who you are and how you're wired. But I don't know if I would be afraid of jump scare type of movies, but emotionally intense movies will do a number on me.
I think that comes with knowing your child also. If your child, if you have a little one like you, then you'll know I need to protect them.
Yeah.
One of our coworkers loves scary movies, like loves them, loves to be scared, likes the jump and like startle one, likes the suspense. Like I said, I do not. So I wonder if, she sees fear as enjoyable, kind of like riding a roller coaster. It's this adrenaline rush. So do you then project that onto your child and let them watch something that, maybe not to that level, but, a kid version of maybe something that's that level of scary?
Yeah. And how does that, like a roller coaster is different than sit down, we're going to watch it. Like,
right.
It's different.
Right. Gosh, that reminds me too. My little one was like, do you think, I don't even know the clown's name.
Pennywise.
He's like, do you think he's in the sewer? We should go look. And he was like excited. So he's got some curiosity. He's never seen it.
It tickles him.
But he likes movies, right? Yeah. He likes cinematography.
No, that's the big one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but some people, the scary tickles them versus, creates fear.
Yeah.
But I think what too comes to mind is, okay, there's that, like a clown, funny, scary. And then there's killing and murder, which can lead down dark places for some kids.
Yeah.
So the problem is kids are so young, they're so little, their brains are so like malleable. You just have to really be careful what doors you open.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, we're getting into it, but I actually, we didn't watch scary movies when I was getting older and they were becoming a little more trendy. But I do remember this one that we watched, some of my friends and I in high school. And trigger warning, but there was a rape scene in it.
Oh, gosh.
And it, I've seen it. There is a lot of, what do you call that? Referencing of a girl whose father is sexually abusive to her. And even that is like an element of a movie that I feel is so unnecessary and almost too real, you know?
Yeah.
So this paranormal, like fake universe of fear, some of that is real.
So what do you think is more harmful to let your kids watch? Is it the, Harry Potter where they cast spells? Is it the zombie movie that is very unreal, because zombies aren't real? Or is it the slasher / like crazy person who hurts people?
Yeah.
Again, I think it depends on your child.
Yeah, I think you have to circle the wagon and kind of look at where are my kids and what is bad or good for them as a family. And if you have one child that's sensitive, you may not need to do it for any. And we're not even touching on promiscuous shows, you know? There's so much. And the eyes are a portal. And so how much do we let them see? And the amazing, wonderful, but also terrible thing is our movies are so real now.
Yeah.
And we even have, these reality kind of goggles. You can actually be in that. Yeah. So it is new territory in many ways. And really the doors have been opened. The ratings on movies are so much more lax than they were. And so much more is on TV or on YouTube or places that our kids are going that we're not even protecting their eyes.
Oh my gosh.
And that is a concept that we need to kind of come back to, is how do we protect our children from what they don't need to see and hear at their age.
I have a friend who abides by the ratings and has a daughter who recently turned 13. And she knew that until you're 13, you cannot see anything that's PG-13. And even then, she says that she checks and makes sure. And I thought that was really wise, because if nothing else, it is setting a standard for her daughter to say that you should measure, you should decide and discern whether or not something is worth seeing, I think that communicating that is just so important.
I was so mean. Megan, maybe you remember this. I used to make them say, when they wanted to see a movie, I said, okay, go research it for me. And they had to check like.
My dad literally did the same. Go print off Plugged In. Plugged In.
Or Common Sense Media, and to say, now you tell me if you should go see that movie.
Same situation.
I love your dad.
Yeah, literally same. My dad. Okay, well, go print off what Plugged In says and then read it to me and we'll discuss it together.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Do you remember like lobbying for it?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this
And
is probably
Plugged In
fine.
is so long. You had to read so much.
But there were movies I knew before I even asked. Like, he's not going to let me see it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's like Genie in a Bottle, making them read the lyrics.
But everyone's
Reference to.
going. That's what I used to hear, Megan.
Yeah.
Remember, everyone's going.
I think that there's this like trend toward, not trend, this is just something I think parents do. We want our kids so badly to experience the next stage and the next thing, you know, like I think before either of my sons were born, my ex-sister-in-law, she's a kindergarten teacher, and she's like, Abby, remember, Sesame Street is not meant for a 1-year-old. Sesame Street is designed for 3, 4, 5-year-olds, yet a lot of 5-year-olds are already like, I don't want to watch Sesame Street anymore. They're over it when they're the target. And then it becomes Jake and the Neverland Pirates or Paw Patrol. And by the time they're 6, they're over Jake and the Neverland Pirates and Paw Patrol. So it's like we keep on introducing our kids to this thing that really is another 2 years away or another maybe 10 years away even. And I think that we're just eager and excited and impatient that we're introducing things to our kids, I just think way too quickly. And you said it a moment ago, Susan, there's already so much bad in the world. Like they can see that on the street corner. They can see it, you know, if something pops up as they're looking over our shoulder at the news on our computer. It's like, why not preserve their innocence for as long as we can? You know,
my kids. This should be the next podcast episode because I just read. It was talking about kids shows and how they are designed with so many elements, whether it's, you know, music laid over different tracks or so much bright color and so many moving elements that kids get accustomed to seeing and taking in things that are overly
stimulating.
It's overloading their their sensory nervous system. And so then they don't want to go play with toys or play outside or do something because they're so used to that overstimulation in like simple shows that like I let James watch all the time. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, he's getting too overstimulated. And it went into this whole thing. And it did give a bunch of shows that are more real life so that they
do you remember any of the ones that were more like relaxed and calming?
Like Give a Mouse a Cookie. The drawings are very simple. The colors are very not so bright. Like one of the ones they were kind of slamming was Coco Melon and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And those are like really popular ones that I know.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And when they dance.
Yeah. So that could be the next episode, but it was just interesting reading about what they were saying. You know, you should let your little kids watch because of how they process and how their nervous systems get overstimulated. And
I had my boys watch an episode of Mr. Rogers one day, and I think it was even the episode where he goes.
That
to
was
like
one of the good ones.
The crayon,
saying
the crayon factory. Remember, he goes to find out how crayons are made, and I'm just like, this is the best thing in the world. And their attention span, they're like, because he moves so slowly.
He's so slow.
Right. That was one of the ones they were saying that's like so real life that that's like the max that they should be exposed to on the screen.
Well, I'll tell you, we do watch still every year for Halloween. We purchase it even because it's not available. We can't find it for free anymore. But Curious George Boo Fest, I will watch that forever.
Is it a cartoon?
It's Curious George, yeah. So it's, I mean, my boys watched Curious George for years and like potty training them. We would sit in the potty watching Curious George. So they probably have like some type of physical reaction when it comes on now. But Boo Fest, it's the Halloween episode. And so they have like a harvest
Curious
thing.
George.
Me too. And it's a little bit scary. There is like an element of like mystery in it. And so it's like just enough for a little kid to participate in like kind of the spooky side of Halloween, but not too much. But I love it. So I highly recommend it. If you happen to see it, you will like it. because George is the best. I did also read something, and Megan, you reminded me of this earlier, talking about how you are still hanging on to some things that scared you. There's short-term harm and there's long-term harm. And so like what your child might experience in the short term is that he doesn't want to get into bed or doesn't want to be in his room in the dark. You need to leave the light on tonight, Mom. Whereas a long-term harm could be having anxiety about going to the dentist because you just let him watch a movie about an evil dentist or whatever. So I think that's another thing to consider also, is like, most likely, most scary things that you let your kids watch are not going to turn a happy, polite child into a psychopath or an emotionally disturbed person. But A, do you want to invite the evil in regardless? And B, if your child does have a propensity toward anxiety or fear or whatever, then why welcome that in, Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, I'm reading a book and I woke up in the middle of the night from a nightmare from reading the book. It's a scary book. And I went to the bathroom and I could hardly get back into bed because, the whole thing under the bed, grabbing your ankles kind of thing. I'm like, why? I don't know. It was a very good reminder that I'm an adult, but I still am vulnerable to that kind of thing.
I think the other thing it does is as your kids are young and they're approaching this, it's your opportunity to teach them you need to know what's good for you and fight peer pressure. Because little thing, they want to watch Stranger Things, but they're really succumbing to peer pressure. Mm-hmm. They probably don't, most of them want to watch it. And so teach them, okay, you know what? You don't really want to watch this. You're just succumbing to peer pressure, and that's going to be your whole life.
Yeah.
You've got to learn to withstand that and be able to look at your friends and go, I don't want to watch it.
Yeah. This is another, like we always talk about, this safe example. This is a secure example of a risk that you might have later on in life. This is a child-sized issue.
Because later, Megan, it's that shot of vodka they got to say no to.
You've already done it with your parents, though, so whatever. James is like, I did this back when I was 3. I don't need to do it now.
Oh, well. And I'm thinking maybe he wouldn't remember that as much as a scary movie, but I guess, that could be pretty scarring too.
So why don't we give Mom a takeaway? What do you say to your child then when he says, well, you already let me watch this, so I should be able to watch this. Or you let my older brother watch this, or my friends get to watch this. What is the good response? What are some good responses other than this is peer pressure and you have to be your own person? Like, what if your child is really bugging you about watching that scary thing?
I'd say 2 things. At some point, like your sister does, you sit down and you watch it with them. And then you talk about why this wasn't right for them or for our family or for what we believe, and why people are making money on this. And what is this the first step to then this kind of movie and then this kind of movie? And that's just not what we do. Or you have that conversation of you already know why. And you've got to get past, you've got to get strong enough where you can look people in the eye and say, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't want that, and be okay with it.
What I think about also is the seriousness of it. Evil is real, and I had a very stern, and I hope my kids sensed the difference in this particular conversation from other conversations we've had. But I had a very stern conversation with them about Ouija boards. And I said, if you're ever at a sleepover, if you're ever anywhere and somebody, you're in your college dorm room and somebody brings it out, just leave the room.
Yeah.
Like, we do not mess with that. Evil is real. The devil is real. You do not need to get into that. And so I think that when it comes to evil things or scary things, have that serious conversation with them about, like, there is good, there is evil, and we have the ability to foster one or the other.
Do not delight in evil.
One other thing too, I would tell my kids, going back to just them, voicing their opinion and being like, I don't want to watch that. I feel like I remember at a time when I said that, I was like, I don't like scary stuff. I don't want to watch that. And like 3 of the other girls were like, oh, I'm glad you said that, because I just felt like, I had to go along with it because I didn't want to be the only one. So chances are, if you're a kid and you're in a group and you don't want to be the only one, chances are there's at least one other person that doesn't want to either.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
So what's a rule in your house when it comes to scary stuff? Tell us via the link in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe to the iMom Minute to get great articles every day. And thanks so much for listening. Thanks for listening to the iMom podcast. iMom is the motherhood program of the nonprofit organization Family First. Along with our fatherhood program, All Pro Dad, we exist to help you love your family well. Subscribe to our daily email, the iMom Minute, by going to imom.com/subscribe and get tons of great ideas, insight, and inspiration. The iMom podcast is hosted by me, Abby Watts, along with Susan Merrill, Megan Tigner, and Chloe Blumenthal.